Well, first of all, I want to say good afternoon and welcome to the Daviess County Public Schools. Thank you to all of our media who were able to accommodate us this afternoon to talk to you about one of the most favorite subjects I think that we have to talk to you about that's most endearing to our heart, and that is safety. And I first have a few people I want to recognize here that are present with us this afternoon. And I want to begin with the Daviess County Board of Education, Dr. Tom Payne, Mr. Dale Stewart, Frank Riney, Todd Anderson, who's unable to be with us, and then James Morgan. What you will hear about today does not happen without a fully supportive and a very vested Board of Education. So it begins with conversation with them around the topic of safety. They're continuing to instill that in myself as well as the staff in terms of the relevance and importance of this topic. And as I said, I'm repeated many times, safety is our number one priority. We certainly don't hope it stops at that spot in the road, but we have to begin any and all of our conversations with safety. In addition to our board today, I also want to recognize Mr. Damon Fleming, who's the Director of Student Services and also our Safety and Security Coordinator for the district. You'll be hearing from him momentarily. Also, Dr. Amy Shutt, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Human Services. Principal, Mr. Rick Lasley of Apollo High School is with us, and Matt Mason, who's also Principal at Daviess County High School, with us today. Among our law enforcement community with us today, we have from the Daviess County Sheriff's Office, Major Barry Smith, who will also be speaking to you, and Lieutenant Nick Roby, who's with us here today. So thank you both for your presence here. And also sending his regrets is Special Deputy General Alan Youngman. In a text message last night, of all things, he's doing active shooter training in Bowling Green, Kentucky today, unable to be with us, but I quote General Youngman, "I am proud to continue to support the Daviess County Public Schools and the Daviess County Sheriff's Office in its relationship with the school district as we move forward, keeping our kids safe in this community." Also with us, Apollo SRO, Mr. Gary Klee. Where did Gary go? There he is. Gary, good to have you with us. And then from our state police, Trooper Corey King. Corey, good to have you with us. From Owensboro Police Department, David Powell. And then Daviess County Attorney, Mr. Claude Porter, is also with us today. So thank you all for your presence here today for this very important occasion. So as you see on the screen in front of all of us here today, the Daviess County Public Schools is announcing our Kids First, Safety First initiative in the school district. So we flip to the next side. What I hope that you will be able to derive out of today is how all of these components and parts fit neatly together under this umbrella that's pictured on the screen. You'll hear about physical safety, as well as you'll hear about psychological safety. All of these things are integral parts of our safety plan that we have in the district. They're not standalone, they're all well connected together. Next, I want to talk to you a little bit about the School Safety and Resiliency Act that was passed in the Kentucky legislature in March of 2019, termed as Senate Bill 1. That bill supports our continued commitment to the Daviess County Public Schools and to ensure that safety and security of our students is and remains our number one priority. The next slide depicts 9 of the essential tools that's included with that School Safety and Resiliency Act bill that was passed. We're going to hit on all those components as we go through our presentation with you today. Next on our agenda, I'd like to invite Dr. Amy Shutt, Assistant Superintendent for Human Services, to talk to you first about the psychological side of safety and how we've made great improvements and enhancements in terms of meeting those mental health needs of our students. Dr. Shutt?
Good afternoon. What I'm about to talk to you about in the mental health realm of Daviess County Public Schools is it is a major group effort, team effort from our school level to our district level, and it involves a great many number of people in our community. It involves federal grants, state grants, hospital grants, and I'll try to identify all how that works for you as we go through it. So what you see on your screen right now is a focus on mental health as a multi-tiered system of support. Everything underneath this umbrella is something that Daviess County Public Schools is currently offering for our students and our staff to make sure they are ready to learn every day. It's a proactive approach. When we look at a multi-tiered system, we think of it as proactive. We already have a plan in place, and so as student needs increase, then also with the level of support and the frequency of that support so that every student can be successful. It's all focused on individual students and the individual support they need. We work to make sure that every student feels safe, both mentally and physically. I want to draw your attention to the Daviess County mission that we have. The mission of Daviess County Public Schools is to prepare students to succeed for life by meeting the individual needs of students, ensuring quality instruction, and developing a learning community. So let's focus on meeting the individual needs of students. As we all know, we have about 12,000 students in Daviess County, and every single one of them is unique. But it takes teamwork to make sure they are successful. And our mission goes beyond just academics. It goes with making sure that every kid is safe and they are ready to learn. The community has been very gracious to Daviess County Public Schools. Every November we have the Giving Tuesday efforts where the community gives to our family resource centers. Through these funds, we are able to look at the individual needs of students that they might, I'll give you an example that they might need. We may have a student who would be better able to learn in a different seating arrangement. If you've seen ever on the news, you can see the bounce balls or the heavy lap blankets that they may need to help them focus. And so those are things we're able to purchase through our Giving Tuesday funds. Also in Daviess County, we have 8 mental health providers. And those 8 mental health providers are, they are funded through our district. We have consistently had 5 in Daviess County for probably 15 to 20 years. We've had 5. But through the Green River Regional Education Cooperative Grant, through flexible state grants, and also through Mountain Comp Cooperative Partnerships, we're now able to have 8 mental health providers in our schools every single day. Through a grant and partnership with the University of Kentucky and the Trauma Center for Children, we have 8 trauma-informed trainers that are currently in Daviess County. Over the past 2 years, these people have been attending trainings with the University of Kentucky, and they return to give training to our schools. And we have a system where we train the principals, the family resource, the PBIS coaches, the counselors, and then they return to their schools so that every school has a team of trauma-informed adults in that building to better meet the needs. What is trauma-informed training? It's where we have educators who provide evidence-based strategies that were widely used with children who are aged 3 to 18. These children have been exposed to a traumatic event, they've experienced post-traumatic stress, or they just have other stress-related symptoms. We are fortunate through the state funds that we have been able to hire a district social worker. Through these funds, that they're very similar to Family Resource, but she goes above and beyond what maybe our school level people would be able to do. So if you think back at the tiered level of support that we have, our Family Resource are able to provide one level of support, and then as you go up, the more frequency, more intense, this goes towards the social worker. We also have 4 Daviess County master teachers who we've trained to be mental health first aid trainers, and actually they're in their 2nd day today with this, and that focuses on the mental wellness of children. If you've had the regular physical first aid training, you know it is kind of attention you give someone who has a cut or something. It's like a Band-Aid you're doing until someone else gets there. Mental health first aid training is the same thing. We'll be teaching our adults to look for symptoms, to work with that child until we can get the mental health expert there. We have 26 guidance counselors in Daviess County. We have 1 in every elementary school and 1 at Heritage Park High School. We have 2 counselors at each of our 3 middle schools, and then Daviess County High has 3 and Apollo has 4 guidance counselors. These guidance counselors are in charge basically of the social and emotional well-being of our staff and students every day. They are that daily support, that kind of boots on the ground for our people. We're fortunate to receive a grant from the Owensboro Hospital that gave us the opportunity to teach mindful strategies and to develop safe spaces in our schools so that students can refocus and regroup so that they are ready to learn. For the past 3 years, Daviess County has been a part of implementing PBIS framework. This is Positive Behavior Intervention Support. All of our schools have a PBIS team that focuses on the behavior in the building so that we are addressing it positively and giving students what they need. Along with the PBIS implementation, we have 2 full-time behavior interventionists, 1 part-time behavior interventionist that works individually with teachers and counselors on the individual needs of students, and this is provided through the Title IV federal grant. As I mentioned earlier, we're part of the Green River Educational Co-op 5-year federal grant. This provides an additional mental health therapist in our district. It provides mental health screenings for every student and ongoing training for our guidance counselors. So as you can see, with our focus on meeting the needs of every child every day, we are striving to meet those Maslow's hierarchy of needs for every child so that they are ready to learn. And now we have Damon Fleming.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. Dr. Shutt has done an excellent job talking to you about psychological safety and also mental health safety and mental health issues that we have helped address within our district. We've done that in cooperation with a lot of local partners. The next thing I want to talk to you about is physical safety, and that is often what we think of when we think of safety. The steps that we're going to talk about are some of the things we've done over the last 5 years, but also the model of moving forward. And we've done this model in conjunction with our local agencies as well. They're here representing, and also with the county attorney's office and with the blessing of our Board of Education. We're very thankful to them. So over the last 5 years, some of the things we've done, we have attended some trainings with emergency reunification trainings for our students. We also have teams who have attended threat assessment training, both provided by the U.S. Secret Service, also the Virginia Threat Assessment Model, which is implemented in at least 26 states in our country and is now mandated in Senate Bill 1. We attended this training and implemented this model ahead of Senate Bill 1 from last year. We've upgraded our check-in systems for our visitors. We have changed the entrance to many of our schools. If you visit our schools, you can see over the last 5 years those entrances have changed. You now come into a secure area when you're in our building. Again, that is something that was looked at in our district by many members of our legislators in Frankfort to see how we were addressing that, and some of that is in Senate Bill 1 as a model. Also, we have installed some Alertus beacons, which are emergency notification systems that are directly at Central Dispatch, and also we've added one at the Kentucky State Police Post. So if we have an incident within any of our schools, they are immediately notified and respond to our schools. That is such a great thing to have that partnership with our local agencies and the state police for that, for the safety of our students and our staff. I just want to thank you again for that. Also, in conjunction with our Sheriff's Department, about 5 years ago, we started active shooter training for all our staff members. That model has been looked at. We've had the Kentucky Department of Homeland Security here to observe that training. We've had the Kentucky League of Cities. We've had multiple guests here to watch the training, and now that is part of the model for Senate Bill 1 also. We want to thank the Sheriff's Department for providing that training and willing to work with us and our staff in doing that to make our kids safe. We've done some other things with security as far as facilities. We've worked on door numberings to make it easier for emergency first responders to know exactly where we need them in the building if we need them there. We're working now as part of Senate Bill 1, we're working with our local state police post to implement the Handle with Care program. This is a program where the night before school, if a child has a situation in their home and the police think we just need to be aware and be cognizant of that the next day for the child, the local state police post or any law enforcement officer is able to file a report, and we were able to receive that, so we know how to welcome them and greet them the next day to be aware of the situation. Some of the other things we've done in 5 years' time is we've had safe school assessments continued with the Kentucky Center for School Safety. We've had the Kentucky State Police come in and do some of their own assessments in our buildings. We've also had some people trained in how to respond to active shooter incidences and how to be an instructor for our district to help with our staff. And we have district representatives who sit on various committees throughout the community to work not only with school and safety, but also with community safety and how we can partner better and provide services to our children. We have cameras on all our school buses. So any incident that happens on a school bus that we need to look at, we have both audio and video representation from that. We implemented a tip line where several years ago, we did this actually in 2016. 24 hours a day, someone can go online and they can let us know if there's a situation we need to know about. It can be a student, it can be a parent, it can be anyone in our community. That is now goes through the Kentucky Department of Homeland Security, and we get immediate notification once that is sent in. Central Dispatch now has access to the cameras in our schools during times of emergency. So if we have a situation in our schools, they're able to log in and see actually what is going on in the school at the time it's happening, which is vital information to provide to the officers who are responding firsthand. But the other thing, our law enforcement agencies, they all have 24-hour access to our building. We want them in our buildings. We get visits every day. Owensboro Police Department visits our schools, the Sheriff's Department visits our schools, and State Police visits our schools every day. And we want to continue that, and they're welcome in our schools, and our kids just love seeing you so much. So currently we have 2 school resource officers that we're in partnership with the Daviess County Sheriff's Office. We have Deputy Gary Clee, who is here today. We have also Deputy Paul Mattingly, who could not join us today. But they're currently assigned to Apollo High School and Daviess County High School, and they do a wonderful job. Part of the role of being a school resource officer is not just being a law enforcement officer, but it's being a mentor, being a friend to both kids and staff and helping with kids, and also being what we used to call years ago officer friendly, and they do an excellent job with that. It helps build that relationship within our schools, but also within the police departments out in the community. And those two gentlemen really represent that well for us. So our current model that we have in place, again, we have 2 SROs, and they're based in Apollo High School and Daviess County High School. They essentially will cover 9 buildings apiece, because if we have an incident, we still get all our local responders respond, but there would be the school resource officer who would also respond to those buildings also. So we've been looking at how can we expand this model? How can we grow the number of school resource officers we have in our district? Again, we're 12,000 students in 18 buildings. How can we help grow this program, and how can we help further the safety of our students and staff that come in our building every day? So we started in 2004 with the Sheriff's Department, and we have 2 in place now. And in this current model, both agencies share cost in this. So we have talked with the Sheriff's Department. We've looked at some different things. They've been great in advising us and working with us and how to expand our model and what moves ahead in benefit of our students, our community, but also benefit with the Sheriff's Department also. So what we're asking our board to do on Thursday night is to create Daviess County Public Schools Police Department, where we would have what's called special law enforcement officers assigned to our schools. We would have a total of 5. We would have 1 stationed at Apollo High School, who would cover Apollo High School and Heritage Park High School. We would also have 1 at Daviess County High School that would cover Daviess County High School and the central office in which we're at now. And then we would have 1 assigned to each of our middle schools, and we'd also ask that officer to go out into our elementary schools and to work with those children and be visible, but also to do programming for our elementary students to help build that relationship and mentor our children. So special law enforcement officers, shows the difference in the models to expand for better coverage of our district, better coverage throughout the county for us. Now, this is in no way severing any ties with the Sheriff's Department or any local agency. They still would respond to our schools. We still want them in our schools. Just our primary contact would be our school resource officers, the Daviess County Public Schools Police Department. They'll be working alongside these officers every day. And that's a relationship, like I said, we want to continue and will continue forward with. So, a special law enforcement officer. They are a Kentucky police officer, professional standards board certified. They're a police officer same as a deputy sheriff, a Kentucky State Trooper, and Owensboro Police Department police officer. They have the same training standards and requirements as those officers have. Also, they would have full law enforcement powers of arrest in any type of violation, misdemeanor, or felony offense that occurs on school property. So they would be primarily handling any type of incident we have on school property. Also, by statute, they have full authority to investigate any crime or activity which occurs on school property. And then they would be required to have yearly in-service training specializing in the area of being a school resource officer. So not just your standard training for police officers that they're required to get every year. In addition, they have specialized training in the area of being a school resource officer. So part of that mandated training comes out of Senate Bill 1 from last year, which we said is the School Safety and Resiliency Act. And this training has been developed by the Department of Criminal Justice Training. And each officer would be required to go through 3 phases of this training. Some of the areas we would be talking about would be foundations of school-based law enforcement, threat assessment response, programming for youth drug offenses, and also social media and cybersecurity issues to help children deal with those issues that we see from time to time. Part of the model too is SROs as teachers and mentors for students and for staff, youth mental health awareness, which we have made significant strides with our staff, so these officers would be included in that. Also, very important for diversity and bias training, because we'd be dealing with students from all different cultures. Trauma-informed education, how to help students who are experiencing things maybe in their home life or life outside of school that are impacting them at school. Another thing would be understanding how to help students who have special needs, and how to help those students and deal with those students and be supportive of those students. And then the last thing is some de-escalation strategies. So we're not the first district to do this. There are currently 16 other districts in the state of Kentucky who have their own police department. We have been in communication with many of these districts and how to set up our department, how to run our department, and actually got some good advice from a lot of these districts and how we need to move forward. So I know a lot of times Daviess County, we want to be on the cutting edge and out in front of things. Well, I feel like we still are, but again, we're not establishing this model. It's already there, something that we're looking forward to. But again, this in no way severs our ties with any of our local first responding agencies at all. And if you have any questions about school special law enforcement officers or anything, there's some more information in your media packets, but I'd be glad to answer questions at a later time for you. This time, I'd like to ask Major Barry Smith, a important contributor to this, to come forward and speak. Thanks, sir.
I don't have that much. Some of my comments are actually redundant on what Damon's already went over, but I basically just want to make a comment for the Sheriff's Office. We've been partners with the Daviess County Public School System for the last 15 years by assigning one SRO to Apollo and one to Daviess County High Schools. Throughout this time, we've been a great team as our SROs have provided main functions as a law enforcement officer and also an advisor and mentor. Over the last year, we've been in lengthy discussions on how to better serve the school system and how to proceed. We've weighed our pros and cons of expanding the SRO program through the Sheriff's Office, along with the option of helping the school system initiate a new SLEO program. The decision to start an SLEO program allows the school system to expand the current system by providing additional officers. It will also allow the Sheriff's Office to transition one deputy back to the patrol division, which will help our increasing call volume. It's paramount that everyone understands that we will continue to be very supportive and have a very supportive relationship with the school system, and always necessary to keep everyone safe daily and in the event of emergency. This will include remaining the primary agency for emergency response and the continuation of active shooter training for all personnel, of which we've done for the last several years. Our deputies will also continue with visits and walkthroughs, as Damon mentioned, of all the schools. We try to do that on a daily basis, and we look forward to working with them as they transition to the SLEO platform. So, at this time, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Matt Robbins.
All right, Just a few concluding remarks here, and then we'll open this up for question and answer period. The next thing this slide here shows is that what is the price of safety? Well, I promise you on Friday I had the opportunity to go to the Owensboro Community and Technical College next door and hear from Trent Lovett. You say, well, who's Trent Lovett? Trent Lovett is superintendent of Marshall County Schools. In January 23rd, 2018, they had a horrific tragedy that occurred there. And just this past Friday, I had an opportunity to hear firsthand what that experience was like, and to hear him say that safety, security, all the elements that we've discussed here today are priceless. However, there are those individuals out there who would like to know, all right, are my tax bills going up? How are you paying for this? Well, the good answer is we've been able to find a way to do this that will not represent additional cost to any other bodies that would be involved with a tax increase of any kind. We're able to fund this 100% within our current budget, so I'm very proud of doing that. That's one of the hallmarks that we had established upon moving forward with this plan that we have for you today. One of the things I'm really excited about this plan, as Mr. Smith just recently mentioned, it allows us to expand into time. And that's a very important point, because safety of our students is a continuous improvement model. In fact, everything we do is a continuous improvement model, whether it's the instruction that we deliver in the classroom, the behaviors of our students, and certainly safety is a continuous improvement process that we must adhere to. So as proud as we are to be at this point today, we know that tomorrow is going to change, and we're going to have to be adaptable to that kind of change, and we're ready to live up to that task. We think we have all those elements here in place that allow us to continue to move forward. This is a clear picture of all the partners that we recently discussed with you, most of which are in this room here today. We could not be to this point without the partnerships in our community that have made this possible, and will make continued progress in terms of the safety of our students possible. So all of our partners, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Our kids thank you. Our community thanks you. These are contacts. It's in your media packet, so if you have more questions, certainly that's available to you. The last thing I want to point to is the very beginning. And in the beginning, what I showed you is how these parts and pieces fit together, that they're part of a puzzle, okay? If we don't deal with the mental health side of the safety problem, we've only done it halfway. And so what you see clearly before you today is how these parts and pieces work together. I'm going to give you another anecdotal story, and then I'll stop. Right after the shooting incident that occurred in Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, I received a call from one of the news reporters at an Evansville station. And she and I began to have an off-camera kind of conversation about safety. And it dawned on me that unless we're adequately dealing with the mental health needs of our students, that we weren't complete. And so what's happened here in the last 2 to 3 year time span is you've seen both of those two levels become co-equals of one another. In fact, they're not co-equals, they're joined together. And that's the important part of any safety program. That's why Senate Bill 1, the Safety and Resiliency Act, puts such great emphasis on all those components and pieces. PBIS, recommended by Secret Service and the FBI, is because those things are important. Without those things, we're not fully addressing the needs of our students. Thank you all.